Bonsoir. Alright guys, today is March 6th, 2017. It is the first Monday of Lent, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about my experience in Haiti. Now, my sophomore year of high school, I was 16, and my family and I had taken the steps for me to apply to be an exchange student my junior year, probably in Italy because my family's Italian, or Sweden because we're also Swedish. We have a ton of different ethnicities, and my heart had always been really invested in discovering more about other cultures and learning about other people and their food and how they practice how their lives look. And I've always, that uniqueness that each of our cultures has is so inherently interesting to me that I was really excited. And then that year, the attacks on Paris happened, and the terrorism worldwide kind of elevated, and so my family decided that it was for my own safety that I should not pursue this at this time, and that we can revisit it again when I'm going to college, and maybe do a semester abroad or something like that. And so I was kind of heartbroken, but my high school, and at that time I was going to a Catholic high school, they had been going to Africa a ton for mission trips every year, and they would go for a month in the summer and work at an orphanage and help there. Now, at that time, Ebola was really, really prevalent where they were going. So they were looking for a new trip to do, and so they decided on doing a trip to Haiti. So this was the first time they were going there. The first time any of our group had been. There were 20 of us, 5 adults, 15 kids, and then we also met there our 2 organizers and leaders for our trip. One was a Lutheran Christi priest, and another was a consecrated laywoman from Regina Coeli, which is a religious order. And so when we got there, on our way there, it was my first time on a plane, first time out of the country, and it was without my parents. And so that was definitely an adventure for me. It was cool. I flew from Detroit to Georgia to Port-au-Prince, which is the capital of Haiti, and then, and so when I took off in Detroit, it was raining, and then I got to go up and see the nice sun, beautiful sun above the clouds. It was early in the morning, so the sun was rising, and then we got to fly over the Gulf of Mexico, which was beautiful. And so, when we got to Haiti, it was on a Wednesday, and we met Marielle, who was our leader, and she got us all checked in, and we were staying at a gated compound for our safety. And Haiti is very, very, very poor. It is ranked a 4th world country because it's so poor, not 3rd, 4th. And it is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. So with that, it did have a lot of safety concerns that came with it, more so than we realized before we went. Now, they have kept doing this trip at my school, and now they have done a lot more safety precautions, but at the time, the first time, we weren't exactly up to snuff. But anyways, so we had Mass that night, and we were really just getting to know each other, and the next day, we went to a place called the Children's Home. Now, the Children's Home was run by the Missionaries of Charity, which, for those of you who don't know, they are the religious order of nuns, or they're called sisters, that was started by Mother Teresa of Calcutta, Saint Mother Teresa. And so it was very interesting to get to work with them. And the children's home is a home for malnourished babies, basically. They're anywhere from 3 months old normally to 3 years old. And these kids are like a third or even a quarter of the size they're supposed to be because they don't have food and they get really, really sick. And so we were there working, and our job was there was 3 rooms full of at least 40 kids in each room, and then there was an upstairs too, but those were the older kids who had been orphaned from the earthquake, and there were only a few of them who had not been adopted, or actually they had been adopted, but their paperwork was just finalizing before they could come to the U.S., which is where all of them were adopted out of. So our job was holding these little babies, caring for them, feeding them, and letting them know that there's people there, and because human interaction is so vital to the development of youth. So that evening we went home. After lunch we went back to our hotel, which was it wasn't a hotel. It was an armed compound. So we went back there and we had lunch, and because it's so warm there, it's like a mandatory siesta, and Marielle, our leader, was from Mexico, so she's like, siestas are sacred and we are taking them. So she took one, the rest of us went into the pool because it was hot, and but it was fun. And so we came back later that afternoon and to spend more time with the kids. Now, originally I was supposed to spend all that time there, but myself and then 3 other girls who it was known that we all were interested in health fields. Myself for nursing, 2 for doctors, and 1 for a nurse anesthetist. And so the leader of our group told the sisters that, and they run a wounds clinic in like the most poverty-stricken part of Port-au-Prince that I saw while we were there. So we packed into a Land Rover with one of our chaperones from our group, and so there was the driver, 3 nuns, 2 Haitian volunteers, a French nurse, a nurse from Maine, and then us 5 from our group. We were all packed in this Land Rover, and we drove for probably 45 minutes to literally the most poverty-stricken area that I have ever been. And we drove into this little alley. It was a gated alleyway, and so we drove through there and into there, and when we got inside, there was people just packed. And so there was this huge building on one side, and then this huge building on this other side, and in the alleyway there was this little like shack which had, like, I kid you not, 12 different types of locks on it. And so the sister goes up and she's all like turning all the locks, and she's like telling us to follow. And so we come inside, and and it is filled with medical supplies, gauze, tape, iodine, antiseptic, rubbing alcohol, just everything. It's just filled, scissors. And so she grabs a bucket, she starts putting stuff in the bucket, she gives us some gloves, and then she hands each one of us a bucket, and she's like, go. And we're just looking at each other like, what? And so, the French nurse comes over to us, and she does not speak much English. She pretty much only speaks French, and she's like, you help clean their wounds. And we're like, and then the other sister comes up to us, and she's like, go, clean. And so we went out, and we treated and cleaned a ton of injuries and wounds, and from like diabetic limbs that had become infected and were like 3 times the size they were supposed to be, and they were irrecognizably disfigured by swelling and injury, and we treated where they had amputated limbs, the stubs and the ends of those. We treated stab wounds from gang fights that 10-year-old boys had, because this is how violent this city was. And we treated little babies who are covered from head to toe with mosquito bites that are infected by malaria. And while this was going on, we heard music coming. Like the most glorious, beautiful singing you've ever heard. And we were like, where is that coming from? And honestly, I don't know how we managed to get through that, because it was intense. And so when we left that day, after we had seen all of the patients, we left through the other side of the alleyway, and when we left, we could see there was a church on the other side. And it wasn't a normal church, it was like an open church where there was way up at the front, there was an altar under an awning, and then just pews and pews and pews of people. And there was a Catholic Mass being said, and they were singing, and that's what the singing we heard was. And they were singing the most, it was beautiful. And there were these little boys running up behind us, smiling and going, and they weren't wearing anything on their bottoms. They were just a t-shirt and going, and so we were packed like sardines, and I was facing the back window, and they were just going, and we would go, And when we got home, I knew that my calling in life is to go back there once I am a nurse, once I have finished my education, and help those people with everything my heart can bear for them. And I know that where I belong is there helping with their health care, and I really hope to one day be teaching other nurses in Haiti so that they can help themselves too. So I'm going to tell you more about this story. There's like 4 more days to add in, but this video is getting kind of long. So God bless. Peace be with you. Have a good night.